This happened 2 weeks ago. I'm 32 and work as a freelance graphic designer. I moved to this cabin in the woods for peace and inspiration. The first few days were nice. I admired the tall pines and the sound of the nearby stream. I had the solitude I needed. But then things changed. On my second night, I heard a noise. It was soft at first, just a distant call echoing through the trees. I thought it was just wildlife, maybe a bird or a stray animal. I tried to ignore it, but it kept me awake. I kept telling myself it was nothing, but the sound felt unsettling. I wrapped myself in a blanket and listened. A few nights later, the calls became clearer. They sounded more human, almost pleading. I stared out the window, hoping to catch a glimpse of whatever was making the noise. I didn't see anything. My heart raced as I pulled the curtains shut. I convinced myself it was just my imagination playing tricks on me. But every night, it got louder. I started noticing things around the cabin. I saw small footprints outside my door. They were too small for an adult. I thought maybe some kids were playing nearby, but I hadn't seen anyone else. Shadows danced on the edge of my vision, just beyond the trees. When I turned to look, nothing was there. I felt cold and uneasy. One night, I decided to brave the outdoors. I stepped outside. The air was still, and the calls echoed through the dark. I felt a chill run down my spine. My heart pounded, but I had to know what it was. I took a few steps into the trees, calling out, hoping someone needed help. I guess I thought if I acknowledged it, it would stop. But it didn't stop. Instead, it grew louder. Now I thought I could hear words. Help me. Or maybe it was, come here. I couldn't tell. My legs felt heavy, and I wanted to run back inside. I stood frozen, my breath coming faster. I felt dread wrap around me. Then I turned to leave. As I took a few steps back towards the cabin, I heard a voice right behind me. It was soft, almost a whisper, but I couldn't make out the words. I spun around, heart racing. "Who's there?" I shouted. Silence fell. Then the call started again, louder than ever. "Help me. I swear that's what I heard." But there was no one. I ran back inside, locking the door behind me. I'm not sure what it was. I still hear it sometimes. Later, I tried to brush it off. Maybe it was the wind. Maybe I was losing my mind. But I could still feel those eyes watching me from the woods. I could feel something wanted to find me. I never went outside after dark again. I kept the curtains drawn. Now, every time I hear a rustle in the trees, my heart races. I can't shake that voice. It still calls to me, even in my dreams. I try to say it was just the forest playing tricks, but deep down, I know it was something else. I still can't explain it. A few days passed, and the calls didn't stop. I started keeping a journal, hoping writing it all down would clear my mind. Every night was the same routine: close the curtains, turn off the lights, and try to quiet the noise in my head. But each entry felt more desperate than the last. Then, one morning, I found something on the porch. It looked like a small doll, dirty and worn. Its eyes were painted in a way that made it seem almost lifelike. I picked it up, heart racing. I had seen no children around, and it disturbed me to think someone had left it here. I wanted to toss it away, but something stopped me. I took it inside, placing it on my desk, an unsettling reminder of the unnatural. The following night, the calls returned. They felt different somehow, more urgent. "Help me." I covered my ears, chanting, "It's not real," over and over. But the feeling of being watched grew stronger. I glanced at the doll. It seemed to be staring right back at me. Out of curiosity, or maybe foolishness, I grabbed my flashlight and opened the door. The darkness loomed heavy, but I had to know. I stepped quietly into the woods, the beam of light cutting through the shadows. The calls echoed again. It was like a song, weaving between the trees. "Come here." The voice was softer now, more enchanting. I followed it deeper into the woods, my heart pounding at the possibility of uncovering the source. It felt magnetic, drawing me further. Then I saw it. A faint glow, shimmering like a mirage in the distance. I approached, feeling both excited and terrified. As I drew closer, I realized it was in the shape of a figure. It flickered like a flame, and for a brief moment, an image solidified in my mind. A little girl with long hair, twisting and moving as if caught in a dance. Suddenly, she stopped. "Help me," the voice begged. It was the same plea, but now it seemed to resonate in my chest. I froze, fear gripping my throat. I wanted to turn and run, but something compelled me to move closer. And then, everything went dark. The glow vanished, snuffed out like a candle. Panic surged through me. I was surrounded by silence, the only sound my own breath. I stumbled backwards, heart racing. I turned and sprinted back to the cabin, desperate to escape whatever I had just witnessed. As I slammed the door shut behind me, I locked it tight. I leaned against it, trying to catch my breath. My thoughts raced, but one question echoed louder than the rest. Who was that girl? Then I heard something.
Soft tapping on the window. My stomach dropped. The doll I had left on my desk suddenly felt heavy in my chest. It was there with me. I told myself to stay calm, but fear was choking me again. I dared a glance. There she was, outside my window, staring at me with those painted eyes. The darkness obscured most of her features, but I could still make out her shape. The tapping grew frantic, matching the rhythm of my racing heart. I knew then I had to uncover the truth. I stood frozen, heart pounding, staring at the figure outside my window. "What did you want?" I whispered, a mix of fear and curiosity tangled in my chest. No answer came. Just that frenzied tapping. I shook my head, trying to dismiss it as a trick of the light or my own imagination. I turned away, desperate to put some distance between myself and whatever was happening. I grabbed my journal, flipping through the pages filled with my frantic thoughts. I needed answers, a plan. Maybe this girl had something to do with the calls, or the doll, or both. I took a deep breath and scanned my surroundings. The doll stared from my desk, its eyes seeming to follow my every move. I looked back to the window, but she was gone. I felt a chill run down my spine. Was she still outside, hiding in the shadows, or had she slipped back into the woods? I remembered the townsfolk I had seen in passing. I needed to talk to someone. Maybe they knew about the girl, or the strange happenings in these woods. Grabbing my jacket, I made my way to the door. Just as I reached for the handle, I froze again. The tapping returned, now more insistent. It rapped at the glass, each strike echoing in my mind. I turned slowly, my eyes widening. The girl was back, her hand pressed against the window, mouth moving but no sound escaping. I couldn't stay here any longer. I flung open the door and stepped outside, the cold air biting at my skin. "What do you want?" I shouted, my voice swallowed by the silence of the woods. No reply came, but I felt the pull again, as if some invisible thread was connecting us. I stepped down the porch steps, heart racing, making my way toward the edge of the clearing. I pointed my flashlight into the darkness. "Show me." The beam caught something, a glimmer of the same faint light I had seen before. It flickered deeper in the woods, just beyond the trees. The girl's voice echoed in my head, soft yet urgent. "Help me." With each step I took, adrenaline surged through me. My flashlight led the way, the beam slicing through the oppressive shadows. The tapping had stopped, but the air felt charged. I was close. Whatever was out there wanted me to find it. I pushed further into the trees, the terrain uneven and rough underfoot. I could feel something electrifying in the air. Every rustle felt amplified. Every shadow seemed to twitch. I strained my ears, and there it was again, the sweet, haunting call. Then everything changed. The glow reappeared, brighter this time, illuminating everything around it. It wasn't just the girl I saw now. Shapes danced across the backdrop of trees, flickering to life and then fading back into the dark. My breath caught in my throat as one of them turned. Its features became clearer, and I realized it wasn't a girl at all. I stumbled back, terror clawing at me.
This was something else entirely. And then, in a split second of clarity, I saw her again, the girl. She stood apart from the rest, motionless. Something about her was different, almost pleading. I couldn't look away. "What do you need?" I shouted into the night. That's when I saw it. A shadow creeping toward me, darker than the surrounding night. My heart raced as I felt a presence behind me. I turned, dread pooling in my stomach. Someone was there, someone who didn't belong. I stumbled backward, instinctively raising my flashlight to fend off the darkness pressing in around me. The beam caught on something, illuminating a twisted tree with gnarled branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. But my focus shifted back to the shadow that lurked just behind me. "Who's there?" I managed to choke out, my voice trembling as panic bubbled within me. I strained to see through the underbrush, bracing for the worst. But the only response was a heavy silence that hung in the air. My heart raced. I needed to move. I darted to the side, hoping to escape whatever was creeping closer. But with each hurried step, I felt that presence, cold and steady, shadowing me, as if it were drawing strength from my fear. Then, without warning, the girl appeared again. She floated just out of reach, her eyes wide and desperate, as if trying to convey something I couldn't grasp. "Help me," she mouthed, but no sound followed. My insides twisted. Was she trapped here? The shapes that had danced in the light started to shift, gathering closer as if summoned. Their forms were indistinct, but I could feel their hunger, an overwhelming desire that pulsed in the air. I looked back at the girl, and realization hit me. She wasn't here to harm me. She was a beacon, a warning. "Stay back," I yelled at the figures, gripping my flashlight tighter. I swung it back and forth, as if it could shield me from whatever they were. But my voice filled the air and faded without effect. Suddenly, a chilling laugh echoed behind me, deep and raspy. "You shouldn't have come," it sneered. I turned on my heel, the flashlight beam trembling as it danced across a shadowy figure emerging between the trees. It looked like a man, but his face was obscured, consumed by darkness. "Who are you?" I shouted, hearing the fear. "What do you want?" He stepped closer. There was an unsettling familiarity about him, something that dug deep inside, but I couldn't place it. "You don't belong here," he rasped, as if savoring the words. The girl's face showed anguish, her eyes pleading for me to understand. I didn't know what to do. The pulse of fear clawed at my throat, and my instinct screamed for me to run. Yet part of me was rooted, as if I was a pawn in a game much bigger than I could imagine. Before I could think, I shouted, "I want to help her. What does she need?" My voice trembled, but it felt like my only chance to break through the mounting terror surrounding me. The figure hesitated, eyes glistening with an unsettling light. "Help?" he scoffed. "You can't help what you don't understand." Suddenly, the air shifted, crackling with energy. The girl's expression changed to one of horror. The shapes charged forward, and instinct kicked in. I had to get away. I turned on my heel, sprinting through the trees, adrenaline pulsing through my body. But the woods warped around me, the path twisting as I ran. I couldn't see the exit, only endless shadows and the haunting laughter echoing through the dark. I didn't know if I was being chased or if something else had been unleashed. All I knew was I had to escape this place. Whatever I had stumbled into was not just an ordinary night in the woods. I needed answers, but first I needed to live to find them. Then everything went dark. I gasped as I was enveloped in darkness, the air heavy and cloying. My instincts screamed for me to wake up, to shake off whatever surreal nightmare had snared me. I wasn't sure how long I had been out, but when I opened my eyes, the moonlight poured through a break in the trees, casting long shadows over the forest floor. I lay sprawled against soft moss, the coolness seeping into my skin. Panic clawed at my chest. I scrambled to my feet, flashlight in hand, scanning the surroundings. A cold breeze whispered through the branches, sending a shiver down my spine. "Where am I?" I muttered, trying to steady my breathing. The faint sounds of rustling leaves and distant hoots of owls filled the night, but it felt wrong, like the woods were holding their breath. The girl, I couldn't shake her from my mind. Her desperate plea echoed within me, pulling me back into the memories of fear and shadows. I needed to find her, to help her. But first, I had to regain my bearings. I took a hesitant step forward, the beam from my flashlight flickering as if uncertain of its own strength. Just beyond where the light touched, the forest loomed thick and impenetrable. I forced myself to keep moving, each footfall echoing like a drum. As I walked, something stirred, a low hum vibrating through the ground. It felt almost alive, and I stumbled, my heart racing. "Just focus," I whispered to myself. But every direction seemed the same. Trees twisted into grotesque shapes, their branches entwined like fingers reaching for me. Then I came upon a clearing, illuminated by silvery moonlight. At its center stood an old stone well, its mouth gaping wide and dark. In that moment, it felt like the only source of clarity in this chaotic place. Approaching cautiously, I peered into the depths. The air around it was thick, almost suffocating. Suddenly, I heard it, a soft, melodic voice rising from the well. "Help me," it sang, merging with the eerie stillness of the night. I froze, gripped with fear and intrigue. Was it the girl? I leaned closer, heart pounding. "Is that you?" I called into the abyss. The voice swelled in response, laced with despair. "You must listen." My pulse quickened. I needed to understand what was happening, but my thoughts were like a swarm of bees, buzzing and chaotic. "What do you want?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. As if feeling my hesitation, something cold brushed against my wrist, like a phantom's touch. I jumped back, but the voice called again, stronger. "Find the truth, before they find you." The words hung in the air, thick with urgency. I felt a shift in the wind, followed by the familiar sound of laughter, deep and mocking, breaking through the trees. Panic surged within me. Someone or something was coming. The laughter grew louder, more sinister, as I backed away from the well. And then, all at once, I plunged into another wave of darkness. My flashlight flickered and died, plunging me into blinding black, where the laughter transformed into a cacophony of cries. I felt a pressing force around me, closing in. That's when I realized I wasn't alone anymore. I blinked in the darkness, my breaths shallow and rapid. I tried to find my bearings, but the weight of unseen eyes pressed upon me. My heart thrummed in my chest, loud as a drum. I could feel the coldness around me, thick and suffocating. "Hello?" I called, my voice wavering. The mocking laughter had faded, but it left a heavy silence in its wake. I took a hesitant step backward, hoping to retreat to the safety of the well, but the ground felt alien. Every direction blurred into a distorted maze of uncertainty. It was that same low hum again, buzzing beneath my feet. I couldn't tell if it was just in my head. Panic began to rise, clenching at my throat. "Focus," I whispered sharply to myself. I needed to stay calm. I needed a plan. Then I heard it, a soft rustling nearby. It was too gentle to be the wind, more like footsteps, deliberate, cautious steps creeping closer. My heart raced faster. "Who's there?" I shouted, trying to sound braver than I felt. The rustling stopped. My breath came out in harsh gasps. I swung the dead flashlight around, hoping to catch a glimpse of whatever lurked in the dark. There was nothing, just shadows, stretching and shifting with the light of the moon. I strained my ears, listening for any whisper of movement. "Help me," the voice echoed softly, but this time it wasn't from the well. It was in front of me, close enough that I could almost feel its breath on my skin. I stumbled back, terror coiling in my stomach. "Who are you?" I croaked, my voice barely audible. "Time is running out," the voice urged, clearer now. It was the girl. I was certain of it. Squinting into the darkness, I caught faint traces of a figure, her features blurring in and out of view. "Where are you?" I called, desperate. "I want to help you." The figure moved just as my flashlight flickered back to life. For a split second, I saw her, a girl with long, tangled hair and eyes wide with fear. She reached out, but just as quickly, she vanished into the night, swallowed by shadows. "No!" I shouted, rushing forward, but the ground seemed to shift beneath my feet, tumbling me into another clearing, this one strewn with twisted branches and thick underbrush. What is happening? That's when everything began to shift again, sound and light bending around me. I felt a tugging sensation in my chest, like something was pulling me deeper into the woods. "I can't," I mumbled, panicking as I was dragged along, the trees seeming to conspire against me. The laughter returned, echoing through the trees, mocking my helplessness. "You need to find the truth," it taunted, "before it finds you." I stumbled through the underbrush, my pulse racing. I didn't know where I was going, but I could feel something dark lurking behind me, closing in. Fear surged within me. I pushed forward, driven by the need to uncover the mystery that now felt like a weight on my shoulders. Then I caught sight of an old, decrepit cabin just past the clearing, its windows dark as night. That could be a way out, I thought, desperation clawing at me. I ran towards it, but as I approached, the door creaked open slowly, as if waiting for me. Just as I stepped inside, the door slammed shut behind me. The darkness enveloped me once more, and I knew I had walked directly into their trap. The moment the door slammed shut, a wave of dread washed over me. I was completely engulfed in darkness, the oppressive silence only broken by my ragged breathing. I fumbled for the flashlight, but it slipped from my fingers, clattering on the wooden floor. "Stay calm," I muttered under my breath. "You need to think." My mind raced, and I instinctively reached for the wall, feeling my way around the cabin. Cold wood scraped against my palm, and I took a cautious step forward. The air felt thick, infused with a musty scent that made me gag. Suddenly, the sound of creaking floorboards came from the far side of the room. I froze, straining to hear over my own heart. It was slow, almost deliberate. Someone or something was inside the cabin with me. My instincts screamed to run, but I couldn't bring myself to move. "Hello?" I called, trying to sound steady, but the tremor in my voice betrayed my fear. The creaking continued, and with it, a whisper softly floated through the air, barely audible. "Help." "Is someone there?" I pressed, my throat constricting. Shadows flickered in my peripheral vision, and I squinted into the pitch-black corners of the cabin. "Show yourself." Then a figure emerged from the darkness. It was the girl, the one I'd seen in the woods. She stood there, her long hair framing her pale face, eyes glistening with an intensity that sent chills down my spine. You have to go," she murmured. "It's not safe here." "Why? What do you mean?" I stammered, inching closer despite my racing heart. "I'm trying to help you." "Help?" she echoed, her voice growing strained. "You don't understand. The truth is inside you. You must remember, before it's too late." "What truth?" Panic laced my words. "I don't know what you're talking about." She raised a finger, pointing towards the boarded-up window. That's when I noticed something glowing faintly beneath the wood. It pulsed rhythmically, like a heartbeat. I stepped closer, but before I could reach it, a deafening crash reverberated through the cabin. The door flew open, slamming against the wall with a force that rattled the entire building. A silhouette blocked the light behind it, tall and menacing. I instinctively moved back, pressing against the far wall as I tried to make out the figure. It seemed to absorb the light around it, growing more ominous. "Get out!" the girl shrieked, her eyes widening in horror. "Go now!" I didn't need to be told twice. I turned to bolt out the back, but my foot caught on something, sending me sprawling to the ground. I could hear the presence drawing closer, a heavy breathing echoing in the stillness. As I scrambled to my feet, I glanced back.
The girl was gone, leaving nothing but shadows behind. I felt a rush of cold air swirl around me, pushing me toward the door. I lunged into the night, the forest embracing me once again. My heart raced, a wild drum in my chest as I sprinted away from the cabin, the darkness closing in. The laughter echoed once more, a reminder that whatever truth I was meant to uncover, something wicked lurked just behind me. Then everything went dark, and I stumbled, the ground dropping away beneath my feet. I fell, swallowed by the forest and all its secrets, leaving me utterly alone in the abyss of uncertainty. As I fell, time stretched. My body hit the ground hard, the impact knocking the breath from my lungs. Darkness swallowed me, but my mind was
Racing. Something wasn't right here. The girl, the cabin, the danger that had lurked just behind me. I lay there, the forest floor cool and damp beneath me, listening intently for any sound. The laughter I had heard before mingled with rustling leaves, creating a haunting echo that made me shiver. I wanted to get up, to run, but part of me felt frozen in place. With a shaky breath, I forced myself to roll onto my side. The night air was thick and electric, and I could swear I sensed a lingering presence, just out of reach. I finally pushed myself onto my knees and looked around, trying to regain my bearings. The trees loomed overhead, their branches whispering secrets in the night wind. I blinked, adjusting to the darkness. The faint moonlight broke through the canopy, casting eerie shadows that danced around me. Then I noticed something caught in the underbrush, a flash of color against the dark soil. Curiosity pulled me closer. As I reached for it, I realized it was a piece of fabric, frayed and torn. It looked familiar, almost like something I had seen before. My stomach twisted as I recognized it. It was part of a jacket, the same one that the girl had been wearing. "Where are you?" I whispered, my voice shaking. I dropped the fabric, panic surging through me. Was she hurt or worse? I began moving deeper into the woods, guided by a mix of fear and determination. Each step crackled underfoot, amplifying the silence around me. I had to find her. The urgency fueled my pace until I broke through the thicket into a small clearing. In the center stood a massive tree, gnarled and ancient, its roots sprawling like fingers gripping the earth. Something glowed at its base. I approached cautiously, and the light pulsed softly, matching the rhythm I'd seen in the cabin. Kneeling, I brushed away the leaves and debris. My breath caught in my throat as I uncovered what lay beneath. It was a small wooden box, ornate carvings tracing its edges. A feeling of dread unfurled in my gut. This was significant, more than I had bargained for. I glanced over my shoulder instinctively. Was someone watching me? The feeling was overwhelming, and goosebumps rose on my arms. With trembling hands, I opened the box. Inside was a collection of trinkets, tiny talismans, each marked with different symbols. I recognized one, a small charm shaped like a crescent moon, the same one from the girl's necklace. Suddenly, a flicker of movement caught my eye. I spun around to find her standing at the edge of the clearing, her expression a mix of relief and concern. But she didn't step closer. "Please," she said urgently, "you have to leave. It's not safe here." Before I could respond, a low growl reverberated through the night, a sound that froze the air around us. The girl's eyes widened in terror. "Run!" In that moment, I understood. Whatever truth I had to confront was closing in fast. I grabbed the box, clutching it tight, and bolted into the trees. The heart of the forest had awakened, and something far more sinister was hunting us both. I ran, branches slapping against my arms and legs as I barreled through the underbrush. The growl echoed behind me, deep and primal, a constant reminder that I wasn't alone. It pushed me to run faster, my breath coming in sharp gasps. "Where are we going?" I shouted back at the girl, hoping she'd lead the way. Her face was pinched with fear, but she didn't answer. Instead, she sprinted ahead, her movements graceful and assured, as if she knew this forest better than I did. Ahead, a tangle of vines hung low, and I ducked just in time. I could feel panic rising, a suffocating weight in my chest. How had things spiraled so quickly? I had been in the cabin, safe, and now I was running for my life. But I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something I needed to understand. The box, clutched tightly in my arms, felt somehow important, a lifeline to whatever this all meant. I risked a glance at it, searching the collection of talismans for answers. Each charm shimmered in the darkness, but nothing made sense. Then I felt it, a shift in the air, a cold breeze sweeping through the trees. The rustling leaves seemed to whisper at me, and for a moment I wondered if they were trying to tell me something. I looked up and saw shadows moving in the corner of my eye. "Keep going," the girl yelled, her voice cutting through my thoughts. I turned back to the path and pushed on. I could hear the growl again, closer this time. The darkness felt alive, pressing in around us. We burst into another clearing, more open than the last, and I skidded to a halt. The ground beneath my feet was soft, mossy, and in the middle stood an irregular circle of stones. It looked ancient, and strange symbols were carved into each one. "What is this place?" I whispered, stepping closer. "It's a circle of protection," the girl replied, breathless. "If we can get inside, it might keep us safe." I nodded, but part of me hesitated. Why would something meant to protect suddenly feel so dark? Before I could voice my doubts, the growl echoed louder than before, and the trees trembled. Panic surged through me, propelling me to the circle. We raced toward the stones, but as I entered, I felt the energy shift. It felt like a barrier, solid and real. Suddenly, there was silence. The growl vanished, replaced by an ominous stillness that suffocated the air. I turned to face the girl. What now? Her eyes were wide, scanning the edges of the clearing. "We need to focus. This place could shield us from whatever that is, but we have to trust each other." Something flickered in the shadows, two piercing eyes staring back at us. They glowed in the dim light, a promise of danger lurking just outside our sanctuary. "I don't like this," I said, my heart racing once more. "What if it comes in?" Then, without warning, the air buzzed, and the stones around us began to hum. I could feel the vibrations through my body. Was it working, or was it just a false hope? That's when I saw it, a figure emerging from the darkness. Tall and ominous, its outlines shifting like smoke. And then I heard it. The voice that had been calling to me, low and whispery, dripping with malice. "Join us," it beckoned. My knees shook. I could sense that whatever this was, it had been waiting for me. The figure loomed closer, the eyes that glowed in the darkness fixating on me. Dread twisted in my stomach, and I tightened my grip on the box, feeling its warmth against my skin. I didn't understand how it worked or what it was meant to do, but the whispered call sent chills coursing through my veins. "Focus on the charm," the girl urged, her voice breaking through the weight in the air. "You have to activate it." With trembling hands, I opened the box, revealing the assortment of trinkets. Each charm pulsated with an energy I could almost taste, a mix of fear and hope. I glanced at the girl, and she nodded, her eyes piercing but filled with urgency. "Choose one," she shouted, just as the shadow outside the circle shifted, clawed hands stretching towards us. I fumbled through the charms, desperation rising as I picked up the crescent moon charm. It felt warm, almost alive in my palm. "What do I do?" I yelled, panic edging my voice. "Hold it," she cried. "Focus on what you want to protect." I closed my eyes, clutching the charm tightly. My heart raced as I thought of the girl, the need to keep her safe coursing through me. I could feel the figure trying to breach our sanctuary, its ethereal tendrils probing around me. And then I began to whisper my plea. Please, protect us. Help her. A surge of energy pulsed from the charm as it caught fire, illuminating the clearing in a brilliant glow. The shadows recoiled, hissing as the brightness swallowed them. My eyes flew open, and the figure let out a wretched cry that echoed through the trees. Suddenly, the ground beneath our feet trembled. I felt power surging through the charm. With a final breath, I placed it onto the ground before the standing stones, and they erupted with light. The circle flared brighter and brighter until it was almost blinding. The figure, corrupted and dark, shrieked in agony as the light enveloped it. I wanted to look away, but something in its gaze held me captive. I thought I could see the girl in its shadow, trapped and desperately reaching out. "No!" I shouted, feeling my heart shatter. As the light reached its peak, the heavy silence shattered like glass, and in a flash I felt a deep calm descend. The darkness retreated, swirling away like mist being burned off by morning sun. I opened my eyes, my heart racing, and the girl stood beside me, looking ethereal yet relieved. "You did it," she whispered. "You broke the seal." "What does that mean?" I asked, still clutching the box tightly. But before she could answer, the weight of what just happened settled in. The shadows were gone, but something still nagged at me. There was still a darkness lurking, and I realized we hadn't fully escaped. "What will happen to you?" I asked, desperation creeping into my voice. "Are you free?" Her expression turned somber. "I am bound to this place, but you helped me find peace." She reached out, her hand brushing against mine, and in that moment I felt a wave of gratitude and sadness wash over us both. "I still don't understand," I admitted quietly. The woods felt calm now, but I could still sense there were remnants of something darker, lurking like a ghost just out of sight. She smiled sadly. "Some truths are too heavy to bear. You've helped me, but I was part of that darkness too. You need to go now." As she stepped back, I felt a pull, an urge to step toward her, to fight against her fading presence. "But I can't leave you here." "You must. Trust me," she insisted, her voice fading like echoes in the woodlands. "Remember this moment. Share it, and perhaps the darkness won't forget what happened." My breath caught as she dimmed, her figure swirling like smoke evaporating under the sky. I held on to the charm until it cooled in my palm, the warmth replaced by an unsettling void. Then she was gone. The clearing fell silent, the night air still and heavy. With shaky fingers, I closed the box and stood, uncertainty gripping me. I stepped back, the weight of the woods settling around me again. In my gut, I felt the lingering question, what truly resided here? What darkness had I averted, and was it ever really gone? As I walked back through the forest, I could still hear whispers in the trees, a haunting reminder of the night, the girl's plea still resonating in the depths of my mind. Yet there was no clarity, only lingering shadows and questions left unanswered. I knew I would leave this forest behind, but part of it would forever remain tethered to me, and I would never forget the girl, or the truth I might never fully comprehend.